Okay, so we're going to talk about asset placement within a page. And what we're going to look at is kind of the basic use cases for an asset and how it gets placed inside a page. Pretty self-explanatory. You've seen this page before. This is in the production copies on the training site, on the training node, and it's the Lacerte homepage. And it just happens to have a lot of varied applications of how you can see assets on the page. And what I like about it is it also has a couple of things that might trip you up when you think, oh, well, I've got an asset here, and perhaps it's not. So let's go through and just take a quick look at all these. So again, we're in the WCM in edit mode. The first thing we're going to look at is this image here. And again, we've talked about this before, but because we're going to go through and do this more comprehensive overview, this is one of the first places that you would find an image on a page. So we've called this out before, is that when you see that image, the temptation is to think, okay, I can just drag something and put it in here and replace that. And you can try that a couple of times to try to figure out where that's going to go. But this image truly is not in an image component here. If it were, you'd be able to drop that in. That image is located in the background of the container. So the background image of that container is where that particular image gets loaded in. And while this isn't a hero image, you can see if I was to drag that over, that purple line tells me it would receive that. So that's kind of the first thing we just wanted to call out. And again, we've talked about it before. You can clear that out here. I could just clear the image here if I wanted to, just by clicking clear. And I'm not going to do that. Let me just pull that up again. And then if I wanted to see where that was located, here's the button that's going to allow me to do that. It'll show me where that's located. And this is a good thing to do if you wanted to know, is that hero image actually in my folder? So you could use those features there. So that's the hero image, where it's located, and just a couple things about it. As we scroll down a little further, we're going to encounter this right here. Again, that looks like an image. So you might be thinking, okay, I can drag another image in here, and truly you cannot. So as we try to do that, there's no image that'll just fit in that. But we can see, if the headline didn't tell us, we can also tell this is a video component. So not that this is a video, it isn't. So we can click this and play this and get it. So we can go through and do that and play that if we'd like. So a couple of things to think about here. There are two things that are assets that are in this component. The first is the video itself. So the way to get a video in here, again, for the most part, videos are not stored on the DAM. They're stored on YouTube. So the way we access where those are stored and how those are linked, we click on the edit within the video component. Sure enough, that's going to show us the YouTube ID. So if I had a video that I wanted to swap out here, something that was up on YouTube, then I would get that ID from YouTube and just place that in here, and that would load that into here. There are a couple of other things we can do here. There's an API key, video description, probably for SEO, and a couple of other items. But this is where you would swap out the video. It's in this edit component interface within the edit button from the video component. Now, so that's part of one of the two assets that we're seeing here. One is the video itself. The other one is whatever this image is, and clearly we can't just drag something in from the basic edit UI. It's not allowing any image to go in there, so you have to click on the responsive tab, and then it'll have enable responsive video, and that'll play in modal. And when you do, it's going to request a poster image is required. So if I was to go through here and do a search on, say, just poster, that would probably pull up a bunch of those. Certainly it does. I could grab the one that I wanted, the one that best represents my new video, and drag that in there. And then we have that poster image in there. So, and again, we have some of the same functionality in any place where there's an image, is we have this ability to figure out where that come from, and then also to clear it out if I didn't perhaps like that one there. So again, the two things, you have to open up the video component. When you see a video component, it has two elements to it, the video itself and the poster image. The video is loaded off the video tab, and you have to click the responsive tab to get to the poster image, which is required. So I'm just going to cancel out of that so we don't accept those changes. As we scroll down a little further, we're going to see, okay, here's another icon. All right, so I'm going to do a search on icon. I've learned that ICN is the icon shortcut. And let me see which one I want to put in there. Okay, maybe this one. So we'll just drag that in there. But again, we can tell this is not going to go in there because every time I bring it over there, I've got the red circle with the line through it. So that's not going in there. So just in case you hadn't noticed, this is part of the icon font responsive component. So the way this works is that we would click on Edit on the icon font, and that's going to bring up the icon font dialog, and then we get to choose from the libraries that are available. So we have Font Awesome and SPG1. We also have some link options here, but this is where we would go through and set up what we want, how we want that to look, and what library we want that to come from. So we're going to use Font Awesome. It will be a stacked icon, and there is actually more detail about on the CMS Online Help Guide for all this. But we have opacity settings. You can choose the size right here, how you want that aligned. So that's what you have there. That's an icon font. So icon fonts work. Basically, it's saving a lot of load real estate because they are loaded as fonts and not as images. So let's go down a little further, and there's another icon font and another. So we're kind of in an iPad view for this. This is a responsive page, so everything is kind of stacked right now. So I do believe we've talked about this image before. This is the one that's here. It's in an image component. I can tell that's editable because I put my cursor in there, and I get that green bounding box, which tells me that is editable. So a couple of things. We'll talk about this when we get into responsive. There's a couple of things that you're going to want to do on an image because this is a responsive page. What you want to make sure is that the image doesn't scale to the size of the component, but it stays within its the standards that, or the sizes that are available here. So if I clicked off of that, yes, don't scale the image. Then, so basically when it says don't scale the image, what we're talking about is that the image will basically scale to the size of whatever the display is. Here it's taking on the size of the component itself. So that's not what we want. We want to be able to not scale that image. So don't scale the image. And that's what you're almost 99% of the time you're going to want to click for or choose for responsive. Also, another thing, and we've called it out before, and we'll call out a couple of times, it's worth noting, is the lazy load. So that's an algorithm that AEM is going to use to determine when to load this page or this image, so that if it's not up on the top, that the viewer gets a really good experience by getting all the content as they encounter it. So lazy load is definitely something that we're asking that you click through for responsive, or anything down below the kind of the digital fold. So again, this is an image component. I've already done the search on icons here. So basically an image component is pretty straightforward. I can just drag that over and I could swap that out. I'm not going to do that right now because it's the same image and it's not really necessary to do that. But you can see by the purple bounding box and also the red circle with a check in it that this is something that I could do. I could just drag in an image directly into that because this is an image component. And then because this looks different than that, I can tell there's some edits that were done to this. So here you could open this up and go through. It's center aligned. There's some styles applied to it. I can tell there's a circle over this. So this is where you would do that. Go through and determine I want a circle, I want a rounded image, or I don't want anything. It's basically the border that we're talking about, how large that would be, and then hover states. And then there's some link options for this as well, and tooltips. So that really does cover quite a bit of what you'll encounter on a web page. This is a good page for that because it really just talks through the hero that is located in the background of the container, talks through icon fonts and videos and poster images that go with videos, and then the image component itself. So I would encourage you to locate this page, look through it a little bit. We know we have some exercises coming up where you'll get to play with that a little bit, but that's kind of the overview of asset placements within a web page.